Morning. It is still morning. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. So,
Good. So I was just mentioning on Instagram that we wanted to talk to you about parasites because it's something that is a really important topic of conversation, especially around this time of the month, because we do have a full moon in Leo happening tonight. And it's something that's really not commonly talked about, especially in the North America part of the world. Didn't really make sense, especially in the Western culture. It's not a common conversation, but it's something that's really important because it can have a really big impact on your health.
yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
crazy the impact they can have, and we're not even discussing it on a regular basis.
yeah,
If you go anywhere else in the world, like India, for example, or even you said Barbados, they have a regiment of handling parasites on certain times of the year. And it's like, well, why aren't we doing that too? We take care of our pets in that way every so often. So why are we not doing that for ourselves?
yeah, which is totally true. And anytime, when you have if you have a dog or you have cats and they have new babies, dealing with deworming and parasites is one of the first things that we deal with. And growing up, I was a horse kid, and we used to deworm our horses twice a year. And hearing about parasites and an understanding that it was something that existed in people as well was really foreign to me
Yeah.
until probably even like 2 years ago. I never would have guessed. I understood that if you go to other parts of the world, especially like island countries, there can be times where people deal with upset stomachs or some symptoms when they come back from that. But that was the only time that parasites had ever really come up in my mind before the last couple of years. And so that's the reason that I wanted to make sure to talk to you all about this because it's a conversation that we need to have more of.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. And today, especially because today is the full moon. And around the full moon, they become more active. And when they are more active, that can make our symptoms worse.
yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting conversation on its own. Why do they become more active around the full moon? I'll let you take that one.
Well, essentially, with the full moon coming around, there's energies that take place between the moon and the earth. And we know when it comes to water and the tide that the tide will be changed based on the moon. And parasites, they're mostly water. So they're also affected by this moon and the energies. And essentially, when it comes to the full moon and nighttime, it's like party time for the parasites. So they're just having a great time. And if you are feeding them the right things for them, not necessarily for you, and those being sugar mainly, sugar and carbs, they are just going crazy. They love that. They thrive on that. And them being inside you cause those cravings. They make them worse because they want that. They just need the sugar.
Yeah. And so the full moon, so the tides of the ocean changing and the water
Hmm.
changing and parasites being very water based makes sense, right?
Hmm.
And the sugar cravings, like how many people have dealt with sugar cravings? A lot of us have. I definitely have.
Yeah,
And pretty much every human has, but
of
we don't
course.
often take the time to pay attention and think like, okay, are there times in the month where it's worse? And I've
Mhm.
definitely looked in the past and thought, okay, before my period, that's often a time where I find that sugar cravings can be more of a thing for me. But there's another connection there because a lot of the times as females, we will start to cycle with the moon cycles as well.
That's
And a
right.
lot of people will have their period around the new moon or the full moon, depending
So it really
on,
makes sense, doesn't it? When you think
yeah,
about it in that way, the connections.
yeah. And then you'll have ovulation with the other moon. So that's where a lot of symptoms come up for people. And it can be mood changes, it can be sugar cravings, as we said, changes in energy, problems sleeping. There's so many different symptoms that are associated with a parasitic infection, which is basically what it is if your system's overrun by the amount of parasites in you. So, other than those, what are other symptoms that
Oh
come
my
to
god,
mind?
there's a plethora of them, as I said, because I talked about this on Friday as well. And there are some things that I actually didn't mention. Bedwetting for kids is one. Leaky gut, nutritional deficiencies because they like to steal our nutrients and our nutrition when they live inside of us. Low blood sugar could be one. Seizures, vomiting, It could be related to autoimmune or chronic fatigue, skin rashes and sores, which is kind of not so nice to deal with because I know I've dealt with that myself, and even weight loss. If you find you're not able to keep weight on or losing weight, it could be because one of these nasty parasites is in your body and they're taking all of your nutrients, everything that you're eating, they're stealing that from you.
Yeah,
Um,
so true, especially, like, you think of tapeworm. I mean, we saw
yeah.
that on Grey's Anatomy a couple of
Oh
years
my
ago
goodness.
where there was a guy that was really skinny and they found that it was there was a tapeworm in his system, and a lot of the times that's the association for people is if you're losing weight, that could be because the parasites are stealing your nutrients, which, yes, is true. But they can also be a connection between parasites and not being able to lose weight as well, just because of the imbalance they can create in your body, which is pretty interesting. And I love that you talked about bedwetting. Well, I don't love it. It's not a
No,
fun
well,
conversation.
sharing the knowledge, you
Um,
mean?
but for kids, this is something that often parents don't even think about,
Mhm.
but it's something that we hear a lot of the time too with, my kid has troubles with bedwetting or grinding their teeth is a
Yeah.
really big one. And I've heard parents say that, like, I can tell the cycle of the moon and where we are based on my child's teeth grinding. So this is something that's an interesting thing to pay attention to as a parent. Is your child having worse symptoms certain times of the month? Is your child having a harder time sleeping? Are they more irritable? Are
Mhm.
they complaining about like sore knees or any aches in the body? Are they wetting the bed more around certain times of the month? And is their teeth grinding getting worse at certain times of the month? If these symptoms are a problem for you, if they're coming up and you're noticing that they are at certain times of the month, this is a sign. This is an indication for you. Like symptoms, every symptom has a cause. And, parasites are a really big one for a lot of people, especially in North America, because we don't acknowledge it
Mhm.
culturally from, a medical perspective. There are tests that are run. There are things that the
Many
medical
tests.
system will do to try and find these, but these there are some gaps there for sure. And, as a result, we're not dealing with parasites in the way that we should be. And so to pay attention for yourself and see like, am I having symptoms that come up at certain times of the month
Yeah.
can be really helpful to move forward with them and to be able to, give your body what it needs to deal with them.
Well, even just as simple as, like, headaches, like, do they correspond with certain times? Do they correspond with certain foods? You can,
Yeah.
and not just with headaches, but you can keep a log of, your experiences. Okay, this is the day I had a headache. I had it at this time. What was I eating around that? Is there maybe a pattern that's happening? I eat such and such a food, or maybe do certain things, and it's causing these things to happen. Or as we're talking about now with the full moon, is it correlating with the full moon and becoming a worse symptom than usual? Just things
Yeah.
to kind of keep pardon me, keep an eye on. A little tongue tied there. Even just a food diary too, to see how that correlates. Have a food diary and a symptom diary. These are two things you can kind of keep in line with each other.
Yeah. And I mean, that's something we talk about because you look at these symptoms like the bedwetting, you look at there's bloating, there's headaches, there's a whole bunch of symptoms that we've talked about. They all could be parasites, but they could be other things as well, which is important to consider. And that's why, working with us, we use quantum nutrition testing because we need to figure out the cause of what you're dealing with. If it's parasites, okay, cool, we can help you with that.
Yeah.
But we're not just going to treat everyone the same. Like, oh, you have parasite symptoms. Let's just give everyone the same parasite protocol. It's not going to benefit everyone.
Yeah. Well, everyone's
So,
different as far as what they're dealing with in their body, and what their body has nutritionally will be different as well. So as far as what your needs are going to be based on that, and what your immune system is like as well. There's just so many factors for you individually that dictate what your needs are. So
yeah,
that's why when we put together programs for people, it's specific to them and what their body needs.
yeah, totally. So, okay, we talked about a whole bunch of symptoms that are associated with parasites. We should back that up a little bit. Where do they come
Probably.
from? Where do we get parasites?
Oh god, they come from all over the place. They come from one of my most favorite things to eat, which would be steak. Mainly because I like it rare, and they say not to do that if you want to avoid parasites. But there's a little trick with that too. You can at least freeze the meat if you want to kill off some of them and still consume it the way you prefer. So meat is one. Also, like sushi, any sort of poke bowls. I'm not as familiar with these things because I don't eat them, but you could probably touch on that a little more so than I could.
I don't eat
Uh,
poke bowls either, but I used
no,
to eat
okay,
sushi a little bit, and essentially
okay,
you're eating raw fish, right? So there can be parasites growing in there. And like one way to get rid of them is to, like you said, to freeze them. So freeze
Mhm,
the steak when you bring it home, or to cook them and kill them. There are going to be certain situations where this isn't possible. Like, there's a lot of research around that pork has some things in it, definitely some forms of bacteria that are heat resistant. So
mhm,
even cooking it may not kill off whatever's going on in there. So um, there's also like vegetables can be carry parasites as well.
mhm, and
You can eat it in so
fruit.
many different ways, and ultimately, like, yes, you said we shouldn't, the recommendation is don't eat red meat or don't eat raw steak. Um, but this is reality for people
It's
a
way
lot of
tastier
the time.
that way, so I'm willing to deal
Deal
with
with
that.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we can eat them in so many different ways. We can drink them in our drinking water. If you're drinking
Mhm,
tap water, parasites can come in that way. They can be in some alcoholic beverages. Sugar is going to feed them and cause them to increase in population inside of you as well.
yeah.
Um, we can get them out in nature, like walking barefoot. Who doesn't love to walk barefoot? I mean, it's a
On
great
the
way to
beach especially?
ground yourself, right? So there's a lot of health benefits to it, but they can actually get into your feet through walking barefoot in the beach. Yes, it's winter and we're in Canada, so walking on the beach sounds wonderful.
It sounds does.
If you
Oh,
have
absolutely
pets,
amazing.
we've talked about that animals deal with parasites and we deal with parasitic infection in animals as well, but they walk around with their noses in the grass. I've watched our dog do it.
Mhm,
They're always on the ground, so they can have parasites as well. So if you let
mhm,
your pet sleep in your bed, if you let your pets like lick you and kiss you, if you have cats, you're cleaning their cat litter. We can get
yep.
parasites from our animals, if
And their
horses,
feces, human
whatever.
feces as well.
Mhm. Human feces as well, correct? And then, yeah, we can get them from swimming in lakes. We can get them from the air that we breathe
And even
outside.
if the soil, if you're a gardener and you like to have a garden every year, just getting your hands in the soil, that's where you can pick them up too.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by them.
We are. We
It's
can't
just the reality.
it's not about avoiding them. It's about being
Yes.
aware of them and finding ways to help your body deal with them. And if you think of the list of ways that we mentioned that you can get parasites, it's pretty easy to understand how this is a thing for kids as well. They play in the dirt, they're in the grass, they play with your pets,
Mhm.
they get dirty. I hope kids should get dirty. It's good for them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's something that we need to support our bodies to be able to deal with properly. So this is why, we wanted to talk about parasites because it's such a big thing this time of the month. And it's an important awareness to have, like what's going on in your system and what could be causing the symptoms that you're dealing with.
Yeah, because they can live anywhere inside our body too. Any of our organs, our muscle, they're basically in and out of every cell, and they can move in the body if they decide to. A lot of them like to hang out in the liver and between the gallbladder and go back and forth, and they can cause disruptions in normal functions that we should be having in our body, like valves and clogging bile ducts and things like that. And it's obviously really gross to even think about that, but it's really, really important that we talk about it.
Yeah, I have a story I'm totally
Okay,
gonna share. I wasn't sure
please.
if I was gonna share this. Um, so I'm working with a quantum practitioner as well, and I mean, ultimately, that's how we got into helping people with this was our own experience. And, when I went to see this practitioner, I had a bunch of stuff I was dealing with, but one thing when I finished, I guess going through nutrition school almost 5 years ago, I haven't slept since then, not really well. And we found there's parasites in my pineal gland, which is in your brain. And the pineal gland is the part of your brain that's responsible for producing melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So for all these years, I was doing everything. I was trying all of the sleep hygiene hacks, like make sure your room is dark, make sure it's cool, make
Mhm.
sure you stay away from blue light before bed, like all of the sleep hacks. I'm a nutritionist. I know the tools, but I wasn't getting better. And when
Mhm.
we found the parasites in my brain, as Amanda
Yep.
said, they can go anywhere, and started working to get rid of those. I've been sleeping through the night for like a few weeks now. And it's
And how does that feel to actually do that?
it's
What change did that do for you?
it's life changing. Like energy is better, concentration is better. It's makes such a big difference. Cravings are better. Like if you're not sleeping well at night, your body's not going to function the way it's meant to throughout the day.
Mhm. And you're
And
not gonna be healing and resting the way your body needs to.
yeah, exactly. And the reason I wanted to share this with you is sometimes we can be doing all of the things and things aren't working. And, you know, from a traditional medicine perspective, there's a lot of like, I don't know. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say. We've
Or
tried
it's all in your
everything.
head or yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that way. And that's where, we can help you if you've been dealing with things that you're not getting over. Maybe it's parasites, maybe it's metals, maybe it's radiation, maybe it's a bunch of different things that haven't been addressed before, but
Mhm.
it's really important to keep looking and keep asking because I would have just kept not sleeping
Yeah.
if I hadn't have gone this route, and it's well, exhausting, obviously, but
That's
it
why, as you
really
said, it's so important to get to the why. Why am I experiencing these symptoms? Why are these things happening to me? Find the cause and deal with the cause
Mhm.
rather than the symptom, and then you can make it go away and make it better.
Yeah, exactly. So, is there anything else you wanted to share?
Just one thing, as far as like the size of parasites, like
Oh, yes.
they can be. There's kind of what's that?
It's gross.
It is gross. I know it's gross, but people need to hear it and learn about it, and maybe oh god, yep, you brought that guy up.
I
This
did.
is her little buddy on reels that she's had recently. Yeah. Anyway, so parasites, as I was saying, parasites can range from basically being microscopic in the fact that you cannot see them, and they can go up to like even 20 to 30 feet long. 20 to 30 feet long, which is mind blowing to even comprehend. Um, and they can also live in your body for a lifetime, practically 20 plus years. And if you think of that, and if you're having symptoms and if you have been having symptoms for a long time, it could be because you've got someone who's an extra roommate that you didn't ask to have. And becoming aware of that and being able to handle that and get rid of them, which is ultimately we want what we want. We want to kill them off, bind them up, and get them right out of our body. Because if we kill them off and don't get them out of the body, then that's when we end up having more problems. So this is why we have supplementation that works to get rid of them and move them out of the body as quickly as possible. It's very important.
Yeah, totally. And I wanna also mention there, you wanna make sure that you're working with a practitioner that understands this, that understands everything that they need or that everything that you need to be able to
Mhm.
kill them, as Amanda said, and like move them out. And the analogy that I often share with clients is like if you took your broom and you swept up all the dirt in your kitchen and you left it a pile of dirt in the middle of your kitchen floor, you've done part of the job. But is that solving the problem? No. Your kids are going to walk through it, your dog's going to walk through it, and the dirt is just going to be
A
everywhere
mess.
again,
A mess.
right? And so if we're killing parasites and we're just like leaving them in your system, then the body has to find something to do with it. So this is not what we want to do because they're going to release toxins, they're going to release metals, viruses, all the things they've been holding on to,
That's right.
which is why people can become or cannot feel well when they're doing a parasite cleanse that's not properly supported. So this is where it's really important to make sure you're working with a practitioner to make sure you're sweeping up the dust, you're putting it in a dustpan, and you're getting it out of your system, out of the house.
Exactly.
Um,
And I believe it's Mish, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, asks how do you get rid of them? And basically, we're using supplementation in order to do that. We have a few different types that we have to choose from, but basically through our testing, we find out what your body needs in order to get rid of them and move them out of the body.
Yeah,
Hopefully that answers your question enough. Um,
absolutely. And yeah, it's all individualized as well.
mhm.
Like we are both doing, I can't point to both of us. We're both doing a parasite
Yeah,
protocol right now,
cleanse, if you will.
essentially.
Yeah, it's
And
incorporated in our programs.
we're on completely different things because our bodies need different things, which is going to be the same for other people as well.
That's right.
So, I mean, we wanted to share this with you because it's important information to understand and to know. And you can go to your doctor, they can do blood work, they can do stool samples, but a lot of the times this form of testing won't find parasites in people because as Amanda said, they can be in any parts of your body. I have parasites in my brain.
Yeah,
Blood
they can
work
live
is
in your
not gonna
tissues.
blood work is not gonna find that. A
Yeah.
stool sample is not going to find that because we have to kill them and then we'll start to see them.
Mhm.
But even that's not always,
Well, as far as the testing goes, like for the medical world to find them, we know of another practitioner that we're aware of, and a client of theirs sent in a sample with a parasite that they could visually see on top of their stool sample, sent it to the lab, and the lab, it came back negative. There was clearly a visual parasite on that sample, and it still came back negative. So it's just mind-boggling to think that the medical community is just missing that altogether, even when it
yeah.
is present.
I mean, not always, but it's if you're not getting the results that you want or you're not getting the support
Yeah,
and the answers that you want, you
always.
need to keep asking. You need to
Mhm.
keep looking. So this is how we can help you. There's a question like, what is the testing process? So what we do is it's called quantum nutrition testing. It's basically like a form of applied kinesiology where it's using the body to to tell like what you need, to tell what organs and glands are not functioning properly because frequency changes between an organ that's functioning well and an organ that's not functioning well.
Mhm.
You'll test differently. And so we test and we find out what organs need support and then what the cause is. Why are you struggling? Why is this dealing with what it's dealing with? And then we test again to figure out what support the body needs. And that's where all of our custom programs are designed for people because it's all about connecting with your body and figuring out what you need to get back into balance. Because when the body's in balance, you're not going to have symptoms.
That's
If you
right.
have symptoms, it's a sign that there's an imbalance somewhere in the body and something that needs support.
Yeah. I should mention too that we do work virtually, so we could help you no matter where you are in North America. And I know sometimes it's hard to understand how we can test you if we're not in the same place. And as far as what Kate mentioned with the everything has a frequency, and if you think of even just like a radio station, you're tuning into the station that you want. Just like each different radio station, country, rock and roll, whatever, has a different station, a different frequency. That's like your organs. Your liver will have a certain frequency, your brain will have a certain frequency, and so on. And you can't see, there's no hard connections to that radio station, yet you're still able to connect to it. And that's pretty much what we're doing with the technique that we use. And I don't know, it's really, really a cool thing to me. I find it really fascinating and I love talking about it. And I love the fact that it can help so many people. It's just really awesome.
Yeah, totally. And there's another question here. Do you work with young kids? We can definitely work with young kids. Wait, we're both having like tongue-tied moments.
Little glitches.
For
Might be the
young
full moon.
kids, it's really beneficial because we're able to test virtually. There's no physical demand for the kid to do things. So we
Mhm.
can tap in and see what's going on with your child's body. And then when it comes to protocols, we have lots of solutions as well that are very kid friendly. So there's some liquid ones available, and then kid specific supplements that are going to help with rebalancing their systems and their bodies as well.
Yeah. The other nice thing about being virtual is if you live in Canada, for example, you don't have to worry about traveling in the snow, worrying about dealing with any sort of traffic. We just have to get on the phone and have a quick call. Our initial consults are 30 minutes, but after that, the follow ups are always 10 minutes long. So it's very convenient to just get a quick call in, check in with you, see how you're doing, see if you need any adjustments, and then go from there if you have any questions as well. It's such an easy process. And I, through the last few years, having that as an option has just been wonderful, right? It's just the fact that I don't have to drive anywhere is just wonderful.
Yeah, and it's accessible for people, which is nice too.
Yeah.
In Canada, I know for us before, I mean, we worked with one practitioner a few years ago, but finding someone who offers this sort of support was really difficult
Hmm.
because it's not readily available in Canada yet. So, anywhere in North America, we can help you. But as Amanda mentioned, so we have our new client bundle essentially where you get your assessment. So we do an initial call that's about 30 minutes. And this is really helpful for people a lot of the time because this is what we hear is this is often the first time that people actually feel listened to. They get, their questions answered and they really feel support because we want to know everything that's going on with you.
Yeah, as much as possible.
We're going to dig deep. Like we're going to ask you about, younger parts of life. We're going to ask you about if you've had pregnancies or if you've had surgeries or your dental history, because there's so many things that are going to impact your
Where you
quality
work
of life.
as well.
Yeah, where you work is a really big one too, because
Hmm.
there can be toxins and stuff there too.
Yep.
But yeah, so that first appointment is a deep kind of dig into what's going on with you. And then we test you from head to toe, all of your organs and glands, to find out what's working well and what needs support. And from there, we send you a report. And then the next call, we go through everything and answer any of your questions and talk about what it looks like to move forward, what it's like to work with us, and where we want to go from there. And for the month of February, a blank moment again. For the month of February, our new client assessment bundle is 135. It's typically $200 for this package, so it's quite a good savings this month. Yeah, and if you're interested in that, you can grab the link in either of our bios, or if you're on Facebook, check out the comments. We'll drop the link in comments there as well. And let's connect. Let's help you figure out what's going on with you. And ultimately, this is when the start happens to moving towards getting rid of your symptoms. Like, if I hadn't gone this route, I would still be not sleeping. So, whatever you're dealing with, you don't have to. Every symptom has a cause, and this is all about finding the cause and helping you move forward.
Always on the cause, because if we don't handle the cause, then you're just going to continue having symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any last words you want to throw out there? Or?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything. If you have any questions, I'll leave that. If you have any questions, if you're seeing this after the fact, leave them in comments. We'll absolutely check back and make sure that we're answering any questions that you have. You can reach out to either of us anytime. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions that way or give you support as well. And if there's anyone that you can think of who's been struggling and who's not getting support, please share this because I hope we provided some valuable information in here and you got something from it. And if there's anyone you can think of that would benefit, be good to share it with them as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. We really appreciate that so much. So thank you for everyone who watched today and for everyone who will watch the replay. Again, as Kate said, if you have any questions, definitely please reach out or put them in the comments and we'll answer those as soon as we can.
Happy
Alrighty,
full
well,
moon.
happy full moon, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.